Well, folks, finally happened. Everyone's favorite corrections officer from Texas channel finally has a new name. I tell you what, it was beyond time to update that. Jesse's Occupational Awareness Show is no more. We're now going to be known as Jesse Talks All Things TDCJ and Military. Reason being, YouTube sends out updates periodically to content creators, and it encourages you to make changes depending on the content that you put out. If the title doesn't match up, if thumbnails aren't matching up, to help promote it and get it out more to the viewers. It's more designed for those who are trying to get monetized with the channel. I don't care about monetization. Okay, if it happens, great. Otherwise, as y'all can tell, I'm not doing a whole lot to try to bolster a whole lot of this. I tell my stories, and whoever likes to view them, well, here you are. So I decided to go ahead and update it. A couple of viewers had mentioned to me, dude, Jesse, you got to get this content out to people. Man, this is going out to people that are trying to make a career out of this, and there's not a whole lot of info on the CO side of it. Likewise, you got a lot of individuals that hate on COs that if they could hear the stories that I tell on it, maybe it might change their opinions. And then you just got individuals who just want to hate on corrections, and I get a lot of that on here. So in an attempt to try to get the content out a little bit more, I switched up the title there. Now, no big major changes are going to come. I'm still going to be telling the same old stories that I tell. We just got a new brand labeled on it. So with that said, let's go ahead and start up the intro. Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Jesse Talks All Things TDCJ and Military. As always, I'm your host, Jesse. Today, let's talk about an old memory lane kind of story. One of my viewers, shout out Mr. William Scott, talked about in my last use of force video that I did that they had a couple of use of forces at their unit a little bit over a week ago. And one of the situations, a captain had to spray an inmate who was banging his head outside the chow hall. I don't know the whole story behind it other than I can picture an inmate coming outside the chow hall door and for whatever reason starts beating his head against the wall. Supervisor who's outside happens to be a captain, tells him to stop. Inmate doesn't stop, sprays him. Pepper spray could be used offensively and defensively as well. A lot of times, we call it two things. Pepper spray, we called it gas. All right, gas in inmates. A lot of times it was used to stop them from trying to hurt themselves. So you got a double negative right there. Inmate's trying to hurt himself, CO applies use of force, eventually inmate stops trying to hurt himself. So that brought me back to a memory of the earliest time that I experienced using gas in TDCJ, and it just happened to be during my use of what would you say, when I was on OJT. Sorry, I had a brain freeze right there. I'm remembering the events as they occur, and sometimes the brain and the mouth, they work a little bit differently. So let's go back in time to 2013. All right. I'm in my second week of OJT, and part of the phases of OJT, you work with the shift. You work with day shift gen pop, night shift gen pop, day shift seg, night shift seg. Sometimes you get more than one exposure to one of the other shifts, just depending on how the cookie crumbled on that one. All right. We're going to talk about 11 building. 11 building was a strange kind of a building. It wasn't gen pop. It wasn't segregation. It was, I think it was a holdover medical kind of a facility. It seemed like there were a lot of psych patients that were in 11 building, and it was lined up really weird. Okay. Once again, I really wish I had pictures to post for you guys, but I don't. It was just, you walked in and you had the picket, and 11 building had a lot of cameras in it. Every building had cameras, but this is one of the ones where you could actually see the cameras inside the picket. And it had long walkways. I know you guys can't picture what I'm trying to do here, but long walkways. And when you went down it, when you stepped in front of the cell, it had a wall, and you had to walk around this wall, okay? And you were in like a a space, a corridor kind of, and the cell was bars. Okay, it was one of the only parts of the Styles unit that actually had bars, old school jail cell bars, not the doors that rolled. And the inmate had a room in there. There were typically two persons in there. I don't really know why they were in there. I think it had something to do with medical or transfer. I know it wasn't a particularly bad building to work in. I never had any problems in it except for this particular time on OJT. Okay. Inmate would come to the bars and you'd pass them their food, pass them whatever you needed to, mail on night shift. Okay. It seemed one of the more less secure is not the word, but the most different kind of building on there. If anybody else has worked at any of the facilities that knows more about 11 building than I do, please comment and describe it a little bit better than I'm doing. I think that it had something to do with medical. Anyway, this particular incident, I'm working with night shift. It's coming back to me. I'm working with night shift Gen Pop. Okay, I'm working with two older COs, both of them CO4s at the time, Mr. Keene, Miss Truesdale. Okay, I think Miss Truesdale ended up, she came from the Max Security, the Supermax Security in Woodville. I think she went back there. Mr. Keene, I'm not exactly sure. So I'm in turnout. Who's Officer Carter going to work with? OJT. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Keene. Mr. and Mrs. Keene. Wow. Mr. Keene, Mrs. Truesdale. We ended up going to 11 building. All right. I start off in the picket with Miss Truesdale, and Mr. Keene had gone to the chow hall. One of the things they do on night shift when it's really freaking hot in the evening times, they go get a big garbage can and it's full of ice cold water. Yeah, garbage can full of ice cold water. All right. We're about to pass out ice cold water to these inmates so they can have it in the evening times. They had water in their cells. That shit was typically piss warm coming out of it. No matter how long you ran it, it wouldn't get any colder. It would only get hotter coming out. Pause for hydration here. All right. So I'm inside the picket with Miss Truesdale, and she's showing me all the paperwork that we use. Post orders, any kind of use of force, how to inventory what we have inside the thing. We had a radio, we had our hand restraints. We didn't have a beam tool in 11 building because there was no lock slot to open up. That was strictly inside 12 building. And Mr. Keene comes back to the building and he's pushing a cart. Picture a four-wheeled cart with the big handle on it, like you get at Lowe's or Home Depot, like you're going to load up your construction items on it or your lumber. He's pushing one of those, and it has the big garbage can. It had a liner in it full of water. And Miss Truesdale says, "Hey, why don't you go out and help him? You know, it'd be good exposure to the inmates there." My shit, yeah, let's go, man. So I'm in just the gray shirt, the trousers. In SEG, we had a pouch in the center of the vest that we wore that we kept our gas in. General population, you wore it in either a leather or a nylon holster, and that's where you carried your gas. So that's where I had mine on that. I also had a little flashlight on my belt. So I go out, "Hey, Mr. Keene, I'm gonna help you serve that water out there." "All right, let's go. Come on, Carter." Seemed like he was in a hurry. I understand why now. I didn't at the time. I didn't realize all the work that actually goes into moving inmates around and all the shits you have to pass out to them, especially at night shift. So I go trotting down the hallway. Cool. I stop and he's like, "All right, here's what we're going to do. We got the cooler of water right here. We got the pitcher. We're going to fill up the pitcher. We'll pass by the cells. Inmate's going to set their cup out, fill it up full of water, move on down. Got that?" I'm going, "Yeah, man, pretty simple procedure. Thanks for the brief right there." And he yells out down the hallway, "Cold water!" That was to get any inmates who either weren't paying attention to what was going on, didn't know, were asleep. That was their cue. "Hey, get up, get your cups at the slot. We're going to be coming by and filling these cups up with water." We had two pitchers. He was going to go one side. I was going to go to the other side. All right. I dipped the pitcher in the bucket of cold water, go around the corner. There's no inmate there. I look, I don't see him. The cells in 11 building were pretty big. Okay, most roomiest cells that you were gonna have. It's like, hey, you want water? Inmate yells out, hey man, fuck your water. Cup gets thrown up against the wall, bounces off the wall. So what the fuck? Here I am trying to give this guy a glass of cold water, cup of cold water. It's a hot ass night. Here it was July, and it's like, damn man, I'm trying to give this man some cold water. Okay. And while I'm standing in there, I hear, hey, put that down. Put that down. Don't do it. Put it down right now. That's Mr. Keene yelling. All right. My dumb ass goes to turn and walk, and I banged right into the freaking wall that was behind me. I was so focused on going around to where he was, my dumb ass ran right into the wall. Okay. Bounced off the wall, came around the corner, walked across the corridor, stepped in, and there's Mr. Keene already standing there like this with his can of pepper spray, and he's hosing the inmate down. Just hosing this guy down full stream. No 2-second burst, no nothing. Just weapons free, full auto. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, here we go. And just as I started to think it, here comes the backblast of it. All right, pepper spray comes out in a straight stream of water, but it's still a gas. And as soon as it hits something, it just bounces all over the place. He's spraying it all over the bars, all over the inmate. It's going every freaking where. And we don't have a whole lot of room between he and I. We're pretty much shoulder to shoulder by the time I got in there. In fact, as I'm talking about this, I remember bumping into him and him moving. Man, he's hosing the bars down and everything. And this shit is going every fucking where. All right. Reason he's spraying the inmate down? Don't know how he got it. Inmate had a shaving razor. They used the Bldg razors. And a lot of times the guys would slide the blades out of it. They had to turn the razors in to get one back to them. And a lot of times the CO wouldn't check the razor to make sure that it actually had the blade in it. They just have the blue plastic handle, nothing in it. Inmate had one of these razors, and he's slicing his wrist. All right. Faking suicide, trying to commit suicide, whatever he was trying to do, inmates would do it all the time. They'd fake suicide so they could get out of the cell and get moved on or end up wherever. This guy was actually legitimately cutting himself. Okay, I didn't know it at the time, but there was blood coming out of the guy's wrist. I'll get to that story once I get caught up. So, Mr. Keene's hosing the guy down, and man, here it comes, coughing and hacking. Okay. I didn't grab one. I got one right here. Survival tool, TDCJ. White rag. Okay. Just a plain old rag. I carried this in my back pocket. I fold it up just like that, carry it in my back pocket. And anytime something will pop off that I needed to, there we go. All right. Sergeant Norman from the academy taught us that. Carry a rag in with you. That's your TDCJ survival tool. Anytime gas goes out, pull that rag out, throw it over your face, muffles it. And that stuff, it worked tremendously. Problem was, when the gas was already up in the air and you pull that rag out and you go to slam it on your face, it's pulling in all the gas. And at that point, you're breathing in nothing but gas that's soaked into the rag. So I threw it over my face. Wasn't working. Tears start pouring down. Freaking coughing, hacking. Keene's coughing and hacking. Inmates rolling around on the ground, flopping around like a fish. Okay. He finally gets done spraying. I think he actually emptied the can on the guy, which takes quite a while to do. He full auto on this dude. All right. Gets done spraying. Okay, at this point, I'm just coughing and hacking. I take the rag away. It's not doing any good. And here comes the full force of it. All right. I didn't know this at the time. I found it out later on. Miss Truesdale saw what was going on, and she puts out Initiate ICS, Incident Command System. That was code for supervisor needs to respond. We've got an inmate trying to commit suicide, trying to hurt themselves. we need assistance right here. All right. LT, Sarge, they come breaking in the door. LT knew it was going on already. LT had a freaking bandana wrapped around his face. Sarge, this is the kind of guy that sprayed pepper spray on his food to use as crushed red pepper or hot sauce. Didn't affect him in the least bit. All right. They responded to it. By this point, I had backed out of the corridor and I'm coughing, hacking, trying to act tough about it. It's not working. I was being a little bitch about it. Tears streaming. All right. By this point, the building has erupted. Gas has gone everywhere. The fans that are blowing in the corridor, they've spread it. Inmates beating, banging, and hollering. All right. LT and Sarge, they get there. They pop the doors open, get the guy out, get him in hand restraints. Cool. All the smoke settles. Everything's good. Me and Mr. Keene, we were going to try to go back and serve more water. We realized we couldn't. It's pepper spray all in the water. So at that point, we were done with that. Keene takes the water cart back to the chow hall, tells me get in the picket with Truesdale, start learning the policies, procedures in there. I get in there and man, my face is just burning red. She had a little bit of it. There was a slot in the picket where you could pass stuff, papers, whatever, anything you needed to pass without opening the door. All right, gave a little bit of breathe space. She had a little bit of pepper spray in there with her as well. So we get in and I get done coughing and hacking, spray all over my face. She's talking to me about inmate movement procedures and all that, and I just kind of spaced out. She said, Carter, I remember snapping her fingers. Hey, Carter, you good? I've only been here for 2 weeks. Is this normal? She's like, probably about every couple of days or so. Yeah. And that's when I went, holy shit. This is like every couple of days. Can I really do this as a career? But we'll see what happens. Okay. 2 years later, it would all come to an end. So, folks, God, I hope y'all were able to stick through this video. I know I ramble a lot. I know I get on. I picture it happening in my mind like it's a rolling camera, and I try to put it out in words to you guys as best I can. Yeah, that was my first use of gas there at TDCJ, and it wasn't even mine. It was another one's, but man, when you use that shit, it goes everywhere. I did a comprehensive video. I'm going to link it down below in the comments about how pepper spray actually works. I demo the can and everything. I don't spray it, but it was one of my earlier videos. So if this video didn't bore you enough, check that one out. It explains how it works, how bad it can be, and it's a good little instructional tool. So happy Saturday to everyone. Oh yeah, special Saturday edition to you guys. Folks, I hope y'all have enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing y'all there in the next one. Enjoy the change of title. Doesn't change how the videos are going to go. Just hoping to get the content out a little bit better to you guys. Everyone take care. Stay safe. See y'all in the next video. Out.